Welcome back to the channel, everybody, where we go in search of wildlife photography. I'm Doug Wallace for the Wildlife Gallery. What'd you think of those Canon R5 images at the beginning of the video? Well, that's what I've got coming your way today, guys, is the final update. I'm not calling it a review of the Canon R5, adapted to the version 2 100 to 400 lens and the version 3 1.4 extender. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Here are a few more R5 images before we get started. All right, well, I think first just let's back up and just kind of give you an idea, for those that maybe haven't seen the other video, what even led me down the road to purchasing an R5. So for me, I felt like my images, like I said in the last video, had really plateaued. I was wanting to, you know, make my images look way more professional than what I thought they were looking. And so the only camera body I had at the time was the 90D that I'm filming on today. So for the 90D, there was really no other camera body to go to in my mind. So I was looking at either a used or a brand new EF 600 f4 prime lens. You know, the type of lens that you see a lot of these smooth, creamy bokeh backgrounds. And a lot of those images are shot with prime lenses. So I'm looking at a prime lens, and a brand new one's $12,999. You can find some used ones from $7,500 and up. So for me, I was looking at a used one going, ah, man, I really don't have that kind of money still. So then, you know, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos on the Canon R5 and how people were just really lamenting how great this camera setup is and low light performance. It's 45 megapixels, you know, the animal eye detect and tracking ability of the camera. And even though the 90D, a lot of people don't know, does have eye tracking on it. Now it's for humans and it works awesome in video mode. I can tell you guys, when I'm videoing, that's the camera that I still video with 90% of the time. And even on a deer or a turkey or a bird, if they're close enough, the eye detect on the 90D will pick it up. Believe it or not, I've shot lots of animals with stills even in live view mode. It really works quite well. So if you have a 90D and you didn't know that, it does have eye detect. Like right now, filming me has a box around my face and has a box around my eye. It just depends on which way I turn my head, whether it's on my left or right eye. So anyways, I'd tell you, take a look at that on a 90D if you didn't know that. So let's jump into and discuss the benefits of an R5 on paper. You know, it's for the 600 mil prime lens. That list of benefits and negatives is going to be pretty short. Kind of felt like I already covered them. The biggest negative really was, for me, was the price tag there. So starting off, 20 frames per second versus 11. Has that been a game changer? Absolutely. I have way more photos to go through. I really got to consciously make myself feather the shutter button. Otherwise, I'll just have way too many to go through at the end of the day. But it does give you the ability to have different wing positions, or eyes closed, mouths open, tongues out. All of those things that you just have more shots to go through than you do with 11 on the 90D. And then silent shooting mode, well, that was one of the things that probably tipped the scales, the straw that broke the camel's back, that made me buy the R5 and start shooting with it versus the 90D. Even in live view mode, sitting in my redneck blind where y'all have seen that wildlife perch and stuff, I had a few deer spook and run away even when I had that the 90D in live view mode. There's still a little bit of a clicking sound there, and I think it probably just echoes inside that blind some, and them deer were able to pick up on that, and some of them didn't like it and they ran off. And the third time that happened to me, I'm like, that's it, I'm going home, I'm pressing the order button on that R5 so I can see what the silent shooting mode's about. For me, my wildlife photography, the way I do it a majority of the time, sitting in that redneck blind, really works out awesome. You know, the deer never know that I'm in there. All I got to do with a deer is make sure the wind is in my face. I can sit there and get all the photos I want. And then, you know, a full frame camera, this R5 is supposed to be just superior in low light than a ASPC or the 90D is. So how has that been for me? I got to tell you guys, it has not been a game changer. I only find that the R5 is maybe 10 to 20% better in low light performance, and I'm going to say that's starting at, say, 6400 ISO. I can tell you at 5000 ISO on the 90D, those images are getting way too grainy, and the software, DxO or On1, just really have a hard time with a 90D raw image at that ISO. At 6400 on the 90D, they're pretty unusable. At 6400 on the R5, I find them just to be marginally better. Still, in my mind, they're not good enough to even share on Facebook or Instagram. Now, I do find that if I have a farther away background with this R5, I can push that to about 8000 ISO. But is it a game changer over the 90D? I wouldn't tell you that it's a game changer. I would tell you it's about 10 to 20% better than the 90D is. So the 100 to 400 version lens, how does it work on this R5? After I got the autofocus problem fixed, as most of you know on the last video, straight out of the box, this R5 was set for a control ring being set to AF single point. And I believe what was probably going on when I set this camera up for dual back button focus, when I would hit the AF on button in the back, I think they were just competing with each other. This thing would just really hunt and hunt and hunt and hunt. And I was about to send the camera back or send the combination back in to see if Canon could find the problem. And I ran across a YouTube video of a guy that said for lenses, especially all the RF lenses have control rings on them, but if you had something with an control ring, if you weren't specifically using it for something, that you should go into your camera, make sure that is shut off, because you could be inadvertently hitting it or something and it could cause some problems. Well, I'm glad I ran across that video, because once I went in and found that and I turned that control ring to off, I have no more autofocus problems with this lens setup. How is the EVF over an optical viewfinder? Guys, I absolutely love that. When you're looking through the viewfinder here, it's really giving you an idea what your image will look like in post-processing. So you got to kind of have that in your head if you are shooting raw, of what that image looked like when you took that image over a JPEG. Now, if you're shooting JPEG and RAW, you'll be able to go back, take a look at that same photo and see what it is in JPEG. And then if you're post-processing the RAW file, you'll be able to take a look at that and see what those colors and stuff look like. Now, I do not shoot anything in JPEG. Everything I do is in RAW. But the EVF is a game changer, and I do absolutely love that. So how are the 45 megapixels versus 32? Well, another game changer in my mind. I did not think so at first, but after shooting this thing for the last 2.5 months, since I do shoot in RAW and I do everything post-processing, I'm able just to push the contrast and the brightness and the colors of a 45 megapixel file way further and make them look better in my mind than I am with the 90D images. I've even went back and looked at a lot of the 90D image raw files that I've kept on a thumb drive and take a look at them versus some current R5 raw files. And I can tell you this, if you use DxO Pure Raw, a R5 raw file will be about double the size once it exports it than a 90D file is. How is the animal eye detect tracking ability on this camera? Guys, I don't find it to be hugely, vastly a game changer. Now, when it works, it's absolutely awesome, but I find that the majority of the time, 50% of the time anyhow, it just struggles to locate the eye. Now, maybe that's my style of shooting that's causing that. Maybe it is the adapted lens causing that. I don't know. I could just tell you, every time I throw this thing up, since I have it set up for the dual back button focus, AF on, I hit it first, get locked onto that subject, I'll hit the star button, and I can tell you 50% of the time it just struggles to catch an eye. But I would also tell you that when it does catch the eye, it's absolutely amazing. It will stay locked on and track that animal, and my keeper rate goes way, way up. Now, is it marginally better than just using single point AF on? Probably 1. I would tell you out of a burst of 10, I'd say with just using AF on, I've got 8 out of 10 keepers. And with the star button, when it works, I'll have 9. And a lot of times you'll have 10 out of 10 sharp images to go through. Well, then you're just taking a look at the attitude of the animal or the pose of the wings or something like that. And then that's probably going to be your deciding factor as to what image you're going to post-process. So then that's going to get us down to, well, would you buy the camera again? Well, it's going to be hard to answer that, because the thing that really pushed me to purchasing the camera were 2 things. You heard me say about that silent shooting out of the blind. I absolutely love that. The deer don't know I'm even in there anymore. And then the second thing that really pushed me to buying this camera is the $8,000 difference between the camera body and a brand new lens. And I was going to have to save about another year to 18 months to be able to buy the prime lens. And like a lot of people, I was looking for results today, not 18 months down the road. So I had the money to buy the R5, so I went ahead and purchased it. And I absolutely do love the camera. That's what I shoot with 99% of the time these days. Now, if I'm out making videos and stuff, I like the 90D still, because I have found out my computer, if I have a video longer than 2.5 minutes, my computer's old enough it will not open a Canon R5 video file if it's longer than 2.5 minutes. So just let me know. I need to update my computer as well. But anyways, guys, that's my update on the Canon R5. I do like it. I'm going to show you a few more images here as I'm closing out the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you would. And remember to be safe while you're out there getting your wildlife photos or whatever other type of photography that you do with whatever camera system you're shooting on. Just go and have fun. Be safe. I'm positive somebody at home would like to see you again. Once again, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one.